Today marks the beginning, or rather the middle, if you will, of our big week of giving. This is part of our Home Together campaign, and this campaign spans from April through the end of May, paying tribute to our donors, our clients, and the heartwarming stories that unite us through these weekly live online events on our Facebook page. So today's event is part of a digital storytelling journey that celebrates the profound bond between pets and individuals who have previously or are currently experiencing or at risk of homelessness. So before I get into our amazing episode today with our very special guest, I want to encourage you to, if there is a part of today's episode that deeply resonates with you, or if you are a volunteer of the Street Dog Coalition, if you're a vet, if you're a vet tech or a social worker that really appreciates our mission and what we do here, I want to invite you to go ahead and click the link in our show notes and be a part of our big week of giving, which ends at the end of this week. Our goal is to raise $50,000 from our amazing supporters, just like you guys who are listening, to continue our mission of providing free veterinary care to pets of people experiencing homelessness. So this is me passing the bucket around via podcast. Any donation really counts, and our organization is entirely led by volunteers, volunteer veterinary technicians, volunteer vets who work tirelessly across the country via pop-up street clinics to ensure that pets who are in need of veterinary care receive the care that they may otherwise not receive if it wasn't for the Street Dog Coalition. So I just wanted to invite you to donate, and thank you so much in advance for donating, and also let you know that all donations will be matched up to $15,000 by our incredible supporters at Pretty Litter. Yay, Pretty Litter, we love you. So now that we have that out of the way, now that the bucket's going around the room, I want to move on to the main event, the most exciting part of today's episode, which is, of course, I have with me Iris, a Street Dog Coalition client from the Bay Area, California born and raised her whole life. And I'm so excited to learn more about you, Iris. And I know that, Iris, you have experienced different housing situations in the past, which we'll get into. I know that you have found solace and support through our services. And I'm just really excited to hear today a bit about, your inspiring story, the strength that you have showed in the past, and the profound impact that we've been fortunate enough to be able to have on your life. So welcome to the podcast, Iris. Woo!
Hey, thank you.
So Iris, I know that you and I checked in a little bit earlier, but why don't you tell our audience how you're feeling, where you are right now in your fancy conference room, which I'm super jealous of. Just tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Iris Johnson, and I'm from the Bay Area, born and raised. Right now I am in San Jose, Silicon Valley. So been out here for the last about 13 years. So
That's fantastic. And I know that you have a little someone with you, a little Gandalf with you. You better
yes,
hold that animal right up to the camera. Oh my gosh.
this is
Oh
Gandalf the White.
my gosh. I love this dog. What kind of this dog looks like a mix between a bunch of different kinds of dogs. What?
Yeah, it's a long-haired Chihuahua and maybe Pekingese. We're not quite sure about the second one, but he is definitely a long-haired Chihuahua, and
And
he
that
has
tail.
oh yeah, Mr. Hair everywhere.
That tail is kind of looking like what my hair was doing earlier before we started. Just a
Oh
little
yeah,
so cute. So how long have you had Gandalf?
it's been about 5, 6 years now. 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you adopt
About
Gandalf
5 years.
when Gandalf was a little bit?
Well, it was one of those things. My stepdaughter brought him by and said, "Oh, my friends are going out of town. Can you watch him for a week?"
Just a week.
And just a week. she never picked him up. So
I love it. That sounds like my kind of, you sound like my kind of person. I feel like a week is a long enough period of time where you develop
yeah.
this like bond with the animal, and then you start looking forward to seeing the animal and walking the animal. Um, so how has Gandalf improved your life?
Oh, and he's a great support. He is technically my emotional support animal
Ah,
because we were going through so much during the pandemic that my therapist thought it'd be a good idea if I kept him. And we went through the process of making him an emotional support animal. So
we love your
that's how,
therapist.
oh yeah, he's wonderful. And um, it really, really helped because, when we had to move and thinking of having to get rid of him, that was just so heartbreaking. And the
Mm,
only place that we could go, um, he needed to be vetted to be as emotional support animal, and my therapist helped with that. And then we got him in, and he's been a great support through all the ups and downs that life throws at you. A nice little distraction and a little annoyance because he has little dog syndrome really bad. He thinks he's a big dog, so
we love the honesty here because yes, 90% of the time we love our animals, can't live without them, and 10% of the time, it's funny right now there are people mowing my lawn, and
uh,
you can't hear it, but my medium-sized to little-sized dog, who also thinks he's a big dog, is barking his head
oh
off,
really?
like just
Yeah.
screaming. Um, so yeah, 10% of the time I'm just like, could you not? Uh yeah, and I'm sure our audiences can fully relate to that. So you
Right.
mentioned you were going through a little bit of a tough time. If you don't mind, could you possibly shine a light on what your experience was like during the pandemic? How did that impact your housing situation? I know that so many people who are listening to this episode are going to be able to relate to your experience because whether it was one thing or the other thing, I know that all of us during COVID were dealing with so much unrest and uncertainty when it came to our jobs, to our home life.
Right.
So if you
But
don't mind, what
that's
was the experience like for you?
but that was the main thing, lost the income because of the pandemic. And see, I was a rideshare driver, Uber driver.
Oh yeah.
So, my income completely dried up. And then at that time, they weren't giving out unemployment for Uber drivers. So it just, we fell behind. And as time went on, it fell behind even more and more. And then we end up just losing the apartment. By the time Congress got together and decided to do something for Uber drivers, it was too late. We had already lost our apartment. So
Mm.
it was that year, the first year at the very beginning of the pandemic, that was very, very hard because the uncertainty, the just the craziness. And my husband's disabled, so there was no income for him, and we just one of the millions of people that fell through the system. And it was before the aid and all the help that they had. So, you know, we didn't know that you could stay and there'll be help down the line. You just, at that time, we just didn't know. So during that first year or two, that's when we lost the apartment, and then we had to find some place to hold up, and we ended up at a voucher motel,
Mm.
and it was sponsored by, um, I guess it was between Home First and Life Moves, but our particular program was through Life Moves.
Wow.
And we stayed at the Voucher Motel, and that's where I found out about the Street Dogs Coalition.
Hey.
Yay!
So I appreciate you sharing all of this with me. I know that I'm like kind of a perfect stranger on the internet, and who am I to ask all these deeply personal questions? So I want to thank you so much for being so vulnerable. And you mentioned that I think the word you used was was craziness. I know that that period of time was just unprecedented. So, nobody knew when they were going back to work. No one knew if aid would ever even come. So I can imagine how unsettling and uncertain that was for you, for me, for everyone. But your story is something that is, I think, indicative of a lot of the stories that we hear of our clients at the Street Dog Coalition. Can you share with us how you felt how you felt whenever you moved from your home into this temporary living situation? Like, did you know how long you'd be at this motel? How did
Oh
that
no.
impact your relationship with your partner? I'm going deep here. I'm asking,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
Oh
getting to
no,
know you.
it was extremely tough because there was nothing but uncertainty.
Yeah.
The There's help out there, but it's limited to the point that there were so many people at that time that needed help. It was hard finding the help. The resources were there. You knew the listings, but contacting somebody, getting in contact with somebody, the system was overwhelmed. There were so many people needing help, and you're not you're not poor enough for this, or you're too well endowed for that. That kind of thing is like,
Mm.
well, you don't make enough money to do this, well, but you're not poor enough to go over here.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing, and you're just constantly stressed of not knowing what's coming next. And by the time we finally, and in fact, we got into the voucher motel like 1 or 2 days within living in our car because we
Mm.
had nowhere else to go. And the fact that my husband was is disabled is what helped us get in there, because they were only looking to help families at that time. And we have no small children, so they were like, "Well, sorry, we can't help you. We're only doing families unless somebody's disabled." I said, oh yeah, my husband's disabled. And it's like, well, we need the documentation. Oh, we give you all the documentation you want.
Wow.
So that's what got us in, is
Mm.
because he was disabled, and because he was too much of a risk to be living out on the street, or in the car,
Yeah.
because anything could happen. He was, if he got COVID, it was very, very risky for him because he has all the high morbidities
Yeah.
for the COVID. And that's one of the reasons too why I couldn't drive Uber, because I do know some people who were still doing it. Though I tried, I just wasn't able to pick up anybody. Nobody was using it. And those who were using it were people going to the hospitals.
Yeah. So just high risk people, right?
Yeah, very high risk people. And then it's like, well, I can't risk bringing it back to my husband or to anybody around me. And, I helped take care of my father, who's in his 80s. I didn't want to, bring it to him or anything like that. So it was like, I have no income.
Yeah.
And so when we got to the voucher motel, it was a little piece of a rescue, because it was like, okay, we could breathe. We have shelter over our head. Um, they've supplied meals, just the basic, and it was a relatively decent place. It was clean. It was managed. I wouldn't say well managed, but it was managed.
It was
And
managed. Okay, we'll take it.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, it could have been a whole lot worse, but we got to the point that we were actually kind of comfortable there. It was all right, and we just kind of settled in, and then we continued to look for resources and try to find ways to get out of our situation. But at least we had a little breathing room. We didn't have the worry of not having a shelter over our heads. So that, gave us a little bit for a few months. So that was pretty
Yeah.
good.
And that's fantastic. I know during that period of time there is so much up in the air, so much uncertainty. As you were mentioning, you made too much for this, didn't make enough for this. And it sounds like you kind of, um, metaphorically didn't know where you belonged. And then to literally be in a position where you have to leave the place you call home, and rely on the generosity of other organizations to take care of you. I imagine how difficult that must have been, because not
Oh, it
only,
was awful because you
yeah,
spent hours on the phone, hours on hold, waiting, hoping somebody would get back to you.
I
And then
remember
when you do
that.
talk to somebody, they're sorry, we can't help you, or we're full, or we could take your husband, but we can't take you, or we could take you, but not your husband. There's a lot of places that would have taken a split up, but we needed to stay together. Well, we wanted to stay together. It was an option if we needed to, but we wanted to stay together. So, we kept looking until, actually when we contacted Life Moves, it was for the safe parking program.
Oh,
I was
wow.
calling to get information about that and if we could get into that so we could stay in our car and be on in a safe parking lot that had bathrooms and showers and stuff like that. And that's how, we got information about that. And then like my husband was working with a caseworker also. And between all of the resources finally coming together and the caseworker helping and we talked to Life Moves. And like I said, when they found out that he was disabled, then they were able to get us
Hmm.
a voucher for a motel.
I'm so glad that that experience, while it was awful, unpredictable, and I remember that, I remember, like, I had, I was fortunate enough to keep my job, but remember so many of my friends and family members were not fortunate enough, and they were trying to file for like unemployment, and like the websites were crashing, and you're calling people who don't have answers and who themselves are scared, you know,
Mhm.
oftentimes they're immunocompromised themselves, so they're not in the best mood because they're just scared and horrified because they have to be at work. So it was just a really terrible period of time, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I think that the silver lining here is that it introduced you to the Street Dog Coalition. So maybe can you share with us the problem you were having, before you came to the Street Dog Coalition?
The main thing is affordability.
Yeah.
Vet care is so expensive, and like in order to even get into the motel, we had to make sure he had all the shots and all his records up to date. So we had to drive around from city to city to city looking for discounted clinics that so we could get his shots and get records and everything. And I'm telling you, we went to 4 of these pop-up vet clinics to get his shots, make sure he was caught up on his shots and get all his medical records so it'll be on file for the hotel. And that was just to get into the hotel.
Right.
So once we were there and I saw a poster out. They put some posters out about other resources and stuff that they always had something up on the wall. And I'm one of those people that stop and read everything. It
I love that.
drives my husband crazy, but I do. I stop and read everything, and I saw Street Dog Coalition, and it was in San Jose, and they said get all your vet care and get checkup and all that stuff, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna go." And so when it came around, I hopped in my car, put the dog in the car, and went. And then, oh my God, I had no idea the line, the amount of cars, the total amount of people there. I was like, the first time I didn't get in because I went a little too late, and about time they got halfway through the people, they had seen all that they could see to see. And I was like so dejected. But I was
Oh,
like, but I wasn't one of those people. I didn't give up. I was like, okay, so now that I know that this is here, I'm going to keep track of it. And when I saw another poster and I went on the website, I said, oh, they do them periodically. So I was following the website, trying to keep up with when they would be back. And then when I caught up with them again, I went at 6 o'clock in the morning to go stand in line. And I was like, still about the 10th person in line,
Wow.
but I was able to be seen and finally got in, and they gave him a good checkup, gave him some shots and the rest of his shots, and um, just gave him a full exam. And then there were other vendors there that had free things like leashes and beds and blankets and dog food and stuff. And I was so grateful and so appreciative that, I wouldn't even take too much because I was like, I'm gonna leave some for somebody else, but I'll take one of this and one of this. I was just so grateful to have made it in to see somebody that day.
Oh,
And then, the next time I kept following them. So I try and keep up with when they're coming to town. And for our area, the bad thing is they don't come that often.
mm.
So you really have to, it's like a little job.
Yeah.
Every couple of weeks, I'll look online to see if I can see when they're in our area. And I guess I don't know how it's set up, but for this area, for the Bay Area, they're not consistently on the calendar.
Right.
So it is a matter of checking regularly because there are times that I look and it's like the next day they're going to be in town. I'm like, oh, I had no idea. So,
Ah,
and then, we have two places that are close by for me that I could go to San Jose or I could go to Redwood City. Now,
that's
Redwood
great.
City is about 40 miles away.
Ooh,
And I am willing to go, especially if something's going on with the dog that he needs some kind of care. I
right.
would definitely try and go. So the only problem now that I'm having is because I take care of my father. Uh,
Mm.
so far, every time that they have on set up, which is on Sundays, is the day that I take care of him. So I've missed the
Oh
last three. So yeah.
you know what, where there's a will, there's a way. And something tells me that, fingers, toes, paws crossed, the next clinic will align with your schedule.
I
And
hope so. I hope
I
so.
hope so too. I hope so too. And I'm really glad that you obviously are a caretaker. You're mentioning taking care of your family. You have Gandalf, who is just the love of your life, the new love of my life, because that dog is so cute. And I'm curious to know that, despite not being able to get into the hottest club in town, the Street Dog Coalition, the first time around, how did it feel to know that, especially that time that you showed up at 6 a.m., how did it feel to know that your lovely Gandalf was getting the medical attention that they deserved and that you wouldn't have to be separated from Gandalf?
Oh, it's sweet relief. Is you worry about, there's so many things to worry about, and then you see your dog not feeling well.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that just breaks your heart even more, especially when you know you can't afford to do anything about it. It's
Yes.
it's because it's so expensive. You try and go other places and you just cannot afford it, or they don't even want to see you. So it's like, I always like, it's like if something's going on with him, it's like, hold on until they come around, hold on.
Oh,
And then when you get there and you finally get in to see somebody, it's like, it's such a relief. It just, all the stress just kind of melts off because it's like, okay, he's getting care, he's getting treatment. I can relax about that thing.
mm.
That's one less thing I don't have to worry about. But when you got everything else going on and you're ripping and running and you're concerned about so much, and then you look over and then your pet's not feeling well, and that's so much more added stress.
Oh,
So it has been a lifesaver and believe me, even the times that I don't get to go, I'm handing out cards, 'cause I always pick up a handful of cards when I go, and I hand them out, and I tell people in the community about them, because especially, talking to people, they would say, "Well, my dog is sick, and I can't afford to go." And then it's like, "Well, you're in this area. This group is here for the people in this area. If you're part of this program, you can go see them."
Oh, wow.
Just and it's like, but you have to get up early, and you have to go wait in line, and it's a crapshoot whether you get in. But if you're determined to get your dog help, or your cat help or whatever, this is what where you need to go. So yeah,
Oh,
I'm constantly
man.
letting people know.
Thank you so much for that. So it's obvious to me that protecting not only the bond between, you and Gandalf is really important, but protecting the bond between other individuals and their pets is really important to you. And I'm curious, why do you think that is? Why do you think that that kind of advocacy that you're doing, protecting that bond, why is that so important to you?
Well, it's just that you talk to people. You when you walk your animal and you have a small area, you see the same people all the time, and the same pets, the same dogs or whatever. And then so you get to talking to them, and they will be talking about how stressed they are because, oh, I need to take my dog in and I just can't afford to, and oh, he's not doing well, or I really need to get him neutered or something like that. So the more you talk, and you can see the pain in their eye that they're worried about their animal. So it just tugs at your heart to say, look, go here, see if they can help you. They're for the community. You live in the community. Just go see what they can do for you.
Hmm.
And so then their eyes light up and they have a little bit of relief. And if they could get down to it, they'll go. But like I said, our area, because uh, it comes so sporadically. I know one time it made the news. There were so many people that came out, and I think everybody was like, "Okay, what's going on?" And
Wow.
they went to a different location, and the location they went to is like almost it was basically by a homeless camp.
Oh, yeah.
And
We do that.
oh
With
my
encampments and
goodness.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and the people that came out to try and get seen that day, like I said, it was so many people, it made the news that nigga was like, "What's going on? What's all of this?" And
That's because
yeah,
you're out there handing out flyers, making an impact, spreading the good word. That
and
is,
still a lot of people don't know about it. A
yeah.
lot of people still don't know about it. So whenever I can, I try and clue people in to give them a
Thank
little
you.
help.
Thank you. I know that's not easy, especially because you got these long lines that you're about to show up one day and look like the 10 people in front of you are people that you tipped off about the clinic.
Yeah, yeah, they get in and I don't. But
Exactly. Oh
you
my
go
God.
knowing that you might not get seen. So, it's always you know that. You
Yeah.
do know that. So, and like I said, I try not to go unless I really need to, so I don't take up somebody else's spot who
Oh,
might need to get in a little bit more. And so,
wow.
and if I just need some meds, I'll tell them, like, I'm just here to get some medicine, some flea medicine or whatever. So, he doesn't necessarily have to be seen. I don't want to take up spot. And they appreciate that
Oh,
because he's been there and they have his records. They can look at his records and say, okay, uh, he he is due for this, and we don't necessarily have to see him. So here's some flea medicine. And that's 15 minutes maybe.
woo.
And so I don't take up somebody else's spot. I don't take up their time for checking out some animal that's really sick, and I get what I need, and we go on about our business. So
That's like the
that helps
insider
too.
edition tip right now. That like
Yeah,
y'all are here first, okay? If you're coming to a clinic and you just need a little something, something, let us know. Wow, that's
yeah.
amazing.
Just
And
just let whoever checks you in, let them know that this is what you need, and it could, it's like they have several different lines for different things, and it does help. It speeds it
organized.
along, and that way they can see other animals that really need to be seen more.
We used to do like a whole series where we get a bunch of clients who have gone to a bunch of clinics, giving us like a play-by-play of like a clinic survival guide.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is a something that you do have to learn,
Yeah.
to make it go faster for you, make your animal comfortable. Um, it's a learning process because because there's so many people and so many animals, they have to come up with systems to keep everything rolling. And
Yeah.
it doesn't always work,
Doesn't
but most
always work.
but
You said it
it's getting
best.
better. Yeah, it is getting better, and they're finding out what works and doesn't work, and they try and keep up on it. And I know the earlier times I went, yeah, it was total chaos.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
complete chaos.
I
But
can imagine,
then,
especially during COVID.
oh
Wow.
yeah, and then after that, it got a little better, and they got a system that kind of works for them, and it keeps everybody knowing what they're doing. So it's like
We
you
love
get a little.
improvement. We love
Yeah, yeah,
improvement.
and it helps because then, okay, you're not standing out in the rain or the cold waiting. They give you a little number. They tell you, go get some coffee, go get some, come back at this time, and
Love
then you
that.
can do that, and then that way it helps with the congestion too. Because, like
Yeah.
I said, there's so many people around and so many dogs and cats and people with scooters, baskets, bikes. It's all kinds of stuff. So it kind of
Wow.
helps when they can say, come back at this time and we'll be ready to see you. So I usually, walk around a little bit and then go sit in the car and go get some coffee or whatever, and then I come back and you know, it
You
speeds
gotta
it
get
up
like
a
those
little bit.
things they have at restaurants where you like it beeps,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get a text message when it's your
yeah,
turn.
something like
Something like
that.
that. I love
Yeah,
that. And so
yeah,
this is so helpful, especially because, you know, we have clinics in over 60 cities, and our clinics in Philadelphia are simply, based on my experience, nowhere near as packed. So it's so interesting.
really.
Yeah, so it's so interesting to hear that depending on, the time of year, whether or not
Yeah,
we're in a pandemic, which city we're in, some clinics are just way, 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 way busier than other clinics. So it's fascinating to me to hear that, and I appreciate that insight. And
I know in our area because they don't give a whole lot of warning,
yeah,
a big heads up. So I'm sure they would get 3 times as many people if, like, say, it would the next time was on the calendar now, and it was 2
right,
months.
right.
Usually, they put it on a week or 2
Mhm.
before, and if unless you're somebody who's checking it regularly, you might miss it.
I miss it.
And then it depends on what group is handing out flyers and where they are because, like I said, I saw that one flyer and I've just checked the website every couple of weeks since then. But yeah, it's just
It's
getting
the least best kept secret in town.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
So
And
my other question for you, Iris, or rather, I guess my last question is, this is so helpful. This is part of me is like, it's like, I wish we had a second team in that area so everyone could be
yes,
seen. And I'm about to start
yeah,
making all these empty promises on this podcast because that's not my job. So sure. But this kind of feedback it's super, super helpful. And I know that our team in the Bay Area and in San Jose is going to give us a listen, and they're going to be so excited at the acknowledgement and recognition that you've given of the improvements, but they're also
they
going
are wonderful. I love every last one of
to,
them. Every last one of the volunteers are so great, especially when you get repeat volunteers. They are very, very nice. I love them all.
we have the best volunteers, and I'm curious to know, Iris, as I'm sure a lot of people listening are curious to know, what is the future looking like for you and Gandalf now that you have, a roof over your head, and you seem to be slowly but surely, picking up the pieces. What's going on now? How are you feeling?
Yeah, same thing. I'm picking up the pieces, slowly building, a little bit more comfortable.
Okay.
Still always that little bit of uncertainty of what could come next.
Yeah.
Um, trying to get used to the stability again,
Mm,
that you used to have.
wow.
But because of what we went through, we both have that little, what if it falls through the cracks, or what if something happens? So we just take it day by day, and just, go about our daily business, trying to continue to build on to what we have now.
That's the life lesson I needed to hear today. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Taking it
And
day
if
by
you get a
day.
chance, get more volunteers, because our little group, I saw some of the street dog ones that have groomers at their clinics, and I'm like, we need groomers at ours.
And look at Gandalf. Gandalf needs a groomer. Okay, I am.
Yes, he needs
You
a
think I'm
groom
kidding?
back.
I'm about to put in this special request for the Bay Area to reach out to local groomers. Yeah, we're so lucky. Sometimes at our clinics, we have groomers. Sometimes in the past, we've even had barbers, like for people who need haircuts.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna let
I
the
know
Bay
one
Area.
time
Go
at a
ahead.
couple of them, they had the portable showers, and
Yes.
the laundry, the portable washer and dryer thing. That was great, actually. So people can actually go in and take showers and wash their clothes. That was wonderful. It doesn't come out every time, but when it does get used. So that's always a good thing when you see that.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, and we really try our best to not only look after the animals of our clients, but we really try to take this holistic approach and use the opportunity that we have to take care of our clients' animals to also invite our clients to connect with services. In some cases it's portable washer and dryer. In other cases, we've had social workers on site to really use these street clinics as an opportunity to care
Wow.
for pets, people, our communities, the environment at large. And it is interesting how varied these clinics are from city to
Right.
city. And
Right. It is.
yeah, and one city is always learning from other cities. So it's very exciting to me to get your insight. And Iris, I
Wow.
want to thank you
Well,
so.
we appreciate it. All of us who use the service, we really appreciate the people, and we really appreciate being treated like humans and not judged for having a pet in our situation. Because you'd be surprised how many people, kind of look down on that. Well, if you're struggling so much, why do you have an animal? Why
Yeah.
do you have a pet? But because your pet is your lifeline, it is a part of your family.
Mhm.
Um, it's a good thing that they treat you like that. There's no judgment. They look after them. They even some of the animals that are very poorly taken care of. I have yet to see anybody being critical or judgmental, and it's greatly appreciated, because when you're down on your luck, that's the last thing you need is somebody to criticize you.
Yeah.
So it's really refreshing to get help and not be judged for needing help.
Ah,
So that's one of the great things too. Everybody's been so nice, and we appreciate all the work that everybody does, for all the volunteers that come out and help. We want to say thank you for all the pet lovers out there. We just want to make sure everybody knows that we are very appreciative of all they do for us.
Iris, thank you so, so, so much. Oh, I'm like, my eyes are watering over here. And I would say that what you're describing is something that all of our teams, regardless of the city, they have that in common. It really is this judgment-free zone. And frankly, um, you know, from my experience, we like people with pets even more than people who don't have pets. So the judgment's really going in the opposite direction here. We're just really happy that despite the friction that individuals who are struggling financially come up against, that they haven't let go of their pet, that they've really, dug their heels into that bond that they have with their animal, and that regardless of how they have cared for their animal in the past, I know I can speak on behalf of all of our volunteers that because on that day, at that time, our client has decided to bring their animal to us, that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Right.
It's really opened up the door for us to, not only take care of the animal in that moment, but also provide, an opportunity for education. Sometimes we've learned that individuals who from the outside look like they are not taking care of their animal well enough. There is
Yeah.
this education gap. They don't
Yeah.
know how to care for their animal in a way that meets the standards of what other more experienced
They just can't do it at this time. That's all. Sometimes
can't
they
do.
just can't, all kind of stress, mental issues, expense, all kind of reasons why they just can't do it. So it's good to have a place that you could get the care you need at that time and not be judged for it.
And that's what we're here for. And we can't wait to see you at our next clinic. And we hope we gotta like give VIP passes to podcast guests here.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
I'm about to make a case. I'm about to, and then my medical director is going to be like, "Could you stop saying stuff like that on the podcast, please?" Because I don't know how we're going to be able to do that. But no, in all seriousness, Iris, you are like just a one in a million person. Your love for animals and your love for the Street Dog Coalition is not lost on me. It's not lost on our audience. From the moment we connected via phone, you have been such a force for good, such an open book, and a just truly a valued member of our Street Dog Coalition family, Iris. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I hope it was fun. I hope it was chill and low key, like I
It was great.
promised. Oh, and Iris, I also want to let you know, you have my email address. We've been texting. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I want to thank you so much. And I want to thank our supporters too. I see a handful of folks have been tuning in live on Facebook, which is always excited and deeply appreciated. And I know that our other individuals will be tuning into this episode as a replay on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all that good stuff. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in to hear Iris's story. Iris, thank you so much for chatting with me, for getting vulnerable, for getting deep, for extending your gratitude. And I cannot wait to see what the future holds for you and for
You too.
Gandalf. It's looking good. It's looking good.
All right, thank you. You guys keep up the good work.
Thank you, Iris. Thank you. Thank you. Until next time. And goodbye, Gandalf.
Bye-bye.
Oh, my love. Please squeeze that dog for me. Just a big old squeeze. Oh, there it is. All right, let me let you go before I keep you on the line for another hour and we just talk about it.
Okay. All
Thank you
right.
again, Iris. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone who tuned in. Until next time.
Thank you.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.